It's an honor to be here. 4 years ago, I stood here and gave you a warning that unless you elected me, you would be facing looming deficits, expensive taxes, and a net migration loss of people, and that's exactly what's happened. 107,931 Maryland residents under Wes Moore said no more, and they left this state behind. These are Marylanders. They're citizens, and they said that they're not going to be serfs of Wes Moore's Annapolis. And what did Wes Moore do? He kicked them in the rear end with an exit tax. And I am demanding and asking right now if Wes Moore would stand up and debate me in this governor race. Wes Moore's been too expensive, too dangerous, and too arrogant and out of touch and unaccountable. I intend to change that, bring affordability back. When I launched my campaign, I said this is going to be about affordability, common sense, and making sure Maryland is once again safe and a place where we all want to have our kids stay instead of have them leave like the two oldest children that my wife and I have. When they married, they had to leave because it's unaffordable, just in the last term of Wes Moore. We can do better. We can make sure that we're not the most dangerous state, one of the most dangerous, the second worst economy in America, the highest electric bills in America. And you can't blame the federal government, Governor Moore, because the blue state of Pennsylvania is doing better. The blue state of Delaware is doing better. The blue state of Virginia is doing better. And with God's help and your vote, we'll do better when I'm your governor.
Thank you. We will now begin our brief pre-selected questions. You will have 2 minutes to respond to each. The first question focuses on the state budget and county cost shifts. Maryland closed the fiscal 2027 budget gap, but the state still faces large deficits in the years ahead. Counties already carry major costs for schools, roads, public safety, public health, and other core services. When the next budget gap arrives, what guardrails will you put in place to keep state budget savings from simply becoming county costs or property tax increases?
Governor Moore gave us one of the worst property tax increases through a tax assessment increase of over 20%. And if we don't change the governor, you're going to see another 20% or worse coming next year. We all know this. It's looming. I will ensure the Constitution is followed. I will make sure that Article 3, Section 52.5a is followed. We're going to negotiate. I'm actually going to be present in Maryland. Instead of an absentee governor, I will be in the State House working with my colleagues and friends to make sure that Maryland balances its budget, that the appropriations and the bills that it passes, it pays for. And under Article 8 of the Constitution, friends, it's required for our education system to be funded by the state. And what has this governor done, sadly? He's put it on you all. He's put it on us. He has put the burden of education funding on the counties, and that is unconstitutional. I suggest we need to change the governor to make that better and to fix it. Here's what the Constitution actually says. The state, not the counties, shall provide a thorough and efficient system of public schools. That's not what's happening. And I announced my Maryland Miracle approach for education, and I'm so happy to hear the governor has now adopted it. I won't call it plagiarism because I feel honored that he mentioned the Maryland Miracle. Why is that? Because Mississippi is spending $8,000 less per pupil, one of the poorest states in the nation, and now it's pushing into the top 10% of education. Why? Because it's focused on delivering results with phonics, with math tutors, and with teacher salaries. But what has this governor done, sadly, with your money? He's passed the burden on to you, and 107,000 people said they're out of Dodge. Folks, that's not going to help our communities. We have got to turn that around, and I intend to do that. We're going to make sure that the legislature funds it. We're going to repeal and replace Kerwin, stop the $30 billion debacle, and make, once again, our counties affordable and our state affordable.
Thank you, sir. Our second question focuses on housing and local infrastructure. Maryland needs more housing, but every new home brings demands for roads, water, sewer systems, schools, emergency services, and other local infrastructure. How would your administration continue to increase housing production while giving counties the tools and support growth to support growth and preserve meaningful local roles in zoning and planning.
You know, with this tax assessment increase by the governor, we ended up with 40,000 tax lien sales just this year. And sadly, most of those are in majority-minority districts or counties and areas of this state. And sadly, approximately half of those are pushing towards it are senior citizens and retirees who paid off their house or who just can't afford that massive tax payment. We're going to change that. We're going to make sure that instead we cap and slash this property tax rate. We have to make sure, and here's our plan. The value you paid in your house is all you should pay for your property tax. I would like to see it removed, but we have to work very hard to get to that point, to completely eliminate property taxes. But we have to then say, stop taxing unrealized gains. Secondly, we need to make sure that tax credits are provided for builders to bring single-family housing back to Maryland. You know what your governor did? $1 billion for rental units. That's $330,000 a rental unit, folks. That's not going to help kids and families and Maryland tax-paying citizens stay here and be producers that can help our community and uplift all of us. We want to turn that around. We're going to make sure that we have senior tax relief. We're going to make sure that we fully fund the state infrastructure. 1,100 bridges need repair. One of them has yet to be built. That's one of the most important. $15 million a day estimated loss in our port because the Key Bridge remains unbuilt. And folks, don't believe the promise that it's going to be built by 2030. I've spoken with people involved. They're not even sure if they can do it by 2034, if they can get back under contract, which, as you know, Westmore canceled the contract, and we have no new contract. We can change all of that. It doesn't have to be this way. I intend to do that.
Thank you. Our last question will focus on energy, data centers, and local authority. Data centers and other large energy users can bring major investment, but they also create new demands on the electric grid, water, roads, emergency services, and other local infrastructure. Who should pay those costs? And what authority should counties retain over siting, taxation, and development?
Well, I meant to say this for the development. We're going to reduce and lower the regulatory costs so that actually builders can build without the regulatory cost that's built in. You might be surprised. I've heard that it's $130,000 per home of the regulatory cost. I've heard that permits are held up for 9 months, folks. And so we're going to change that. We can do it on day one. And when the governor says that he's reduced it by 7 weeks, it's 9 months. There's no other state, there's few other states that is that crazy. We can change that fast. Secondly, the data centers. I am opposed to those. This is a big difference between Westmore and me. The governor has a scandal, folks. He accepted a $12,000 donation to his campaign from the owner of TerraWolf and then gave a power plant, the Morgantown power plant in Charles County, to that data center hyperscale developer, which is going to hurt the water, the environment, and increase, I'm told, up to 16 degrees, between 4 and 16 degrees of the temperature in the area of the 6-mile radius of that data center. Folks, we need a moratorium. I will institute it immediately so that we can study this. It's also outdated technology. We all know that Elon Musk is building these in the stars. We also know that China is putting them at the bottom of the ocean. Now, I'm not sure that I agree with that, but at least the shrimp should be protected less than the people that Westmore is putting these amongst. We're going to stop that. And yes, we're going to make sure that we bring online new power plants. I'm all for SMRs. In fact, I'm the one that started talking about it. Then I heard Westmore started talking about it. He's had 4 years. He's done nothing for the small modular reactors to bring those in. It's clean energy. But I'm also calling to reopen the Marcellus Shale to access the most expensive, wealthy, or the most wealthy LNG, oil and gas deposit in the world to make us rich. In a clean way, we can have power plants that are powered through LNG. And with the $5 billion revenue for the state that is likely an estimate to bring in, why aren't we getting that? I also want to provide dividends, but look at this. We're pretending that we can't access it while Pennsylvania accesses it for us, so we can change that.
Mr. Cox, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, thank you. It's an honor, and I just want to say that in closing, it does not have to be this way. I was here 4 years ago, and I asked for your vote. I asked for the opportunity to provide a path forward for all of you, a common sense path, and I'm doing that here again today. Governor Larry Hogan held the line against unfunded mandates to your counties. I know because I stood with him and supported those. Every single veto, I helped him on the House floor along with my colleagues to uphold that, to protect us. Folks, it doesn't have to be the way it is. Most blue states are not this way. Virginia has as many federal workers fired as Maryland, and yet Virginia is in the top of the economic boom of America. And where is Maryland? Second to dead last. We can do better. This doesn't have to be this way. I'm asking for the opportunity to provide affordability through common sense approach. This campaign is about economic affordability, common sense, and I'm laser focused on that and that alone. And we're going to make sure that we're making your communities safe again, because I talk to small businesses, and if you're a small business person, you know what I'm talking about. We can lower taxes for small businesses all day long, which we have to keep them here because they're shedding, they're leaving. But if we don't have safe communities, then they don't have customers coming anyway. We're going to empower law enforcement with the proper tools and training and the accountability necessary and get rid of these incredible throwing our law enforcement under the bus. You know, 200 law enforcement officers were investigated, all of which were cleared. That didn't have to be that way, and we're losing our officers. And then lastly, tourism. Tourism is what Maryland can be again, a place where the world wants to come, and we have that opportunity. We can become the center of that. I intend to make that a focus, which will raise all of our jobs and our opportunities here in Maryland. Thank you so much. I'm humbly asking for your vote for the chance to make Maryland once again a place where my kids, your kids, and all of our grandchildren and our seniors can stay, live, and retire. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cox.
Thank you for the work and thank you for the partnership. You've made us better. You've made the state better. And I appreciate it more than you know. Because when we first got on this journey, we said that, you know what, we're going to work hard and work together, but we're going to tackle some pretty big problems. We said we're going to tackle the issue of public safety, where we knew that we had a violence crisis within the state of Maryland, that Baltimore City in 2022 was averaging about a homicide a day. And we said, here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to work together. And now, because of record investments, both in local law enforcement and record investments in our community groups, record investments in technology, and record investments on reentry programs, we have now seen that Maryland's violent crime rate is amongst the fastest drop in the United States of America. And in fact, the last time the homicide rate was this low in Baltimore City, I wasn't born yet. That we said we were going to focus on education because, to be clear, in 2013, Maryland was ranked number 2 inside of the country in 4th grade reading, for example. In 2022, Maryland was then ranked 40th. It was the fastest drop in the United States, where we're now seeing the teacher vacancy rate in the state of Maryland is down nearly 60%, that we are leading the nation in post-pandemic recovery, that we have seen improvements in not only math, but also reading in virtually every single grade, that if you look at our economy, Maryland's spending had grown by 70% while our GDP essentially remained flat. And since we took office, we decided to work together. We've created nearly 60,000 new jobs, attracted more than $14 billion of economic activity and private investment. And by the way, we did it while still raising the minimum wage to make sure that people get paid fairly and be actually making a living wage for the work they're doing. So we've got more work to do, but I'm excited to keep on doing it with you for the next 4 years. And thank you, Maco, for the work and for the partnership.